God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
In a moment heavy with symbolism and controversy, an archbishop under investigations over a motor vehicle chose to walk on foot. In the morning of 5th January 2026, His Grace Archbishop Alik Banda walked on foot from the Cathedral of the Child Jesus to the Drug Enforcement Commission headquarters, flanked by sympathizers and his congregants, to answer questions over a Zambia Revenue Authority vehicle disposal on the alleged possession of the Toyota Hilux belonging to the state. The foot march was followed by the Drug Enforcement Commission confirming that the bishop has been warned and cautioned following investigations by its Money Laundering and Investigations Unit into the suspected unlawful possession of the ZRA vehicle. The Drug Enforcement Commission Public Relations Manager Alan Tamba has disclosed to Crown Television that the Archbishop decided to remain silent during his questioning.
Particulars of the matter are that Dr. Banda, on dates unknown but between 22nd April 2021 and 27th December 2023, did have in his possession a motor vehicle Toyota Hilux with registration number ALF 7734, property which is reasonably suspected to have been unlawfully obtained from ZRA. Granted an opportunity to explain how he assumed possession of the said motor vehicle, Dr. Alik Banda chose to remain silent.
Before presenting himself to the investigators, earlier, the Archbishop Alik Banda presided over a solidarity mass that was held for him in Lusaka.
Deceptions are objects of our judgments, assumptions that we make, the labelings that we give, and the exclusions that we make. Be it of evil, be it of justice, be it of circumstances. In this regard, Nazareth is about how we see as it relates to others. Thus, Nathanael's question isn't really about Nazareth. It's about Nathanael himself. It is about his perception about others. It's about his biasness, his prejudice, and his fears.
The mass was attended by many leaders of the opposition, some of whom have described the act by government as an attack on the Catholic Church.
There is nobody in his normal sense who would support what has happened. Nobody would support what has happened. And the Catholic Church works as one. The Catholic Church works as one. You touch one priest, you touch one bishop, you touch all of us. So there's nothing like it has been blown out of proportion. That is what should be. When Jesus was persecuted, they persecuted the entire Christian community. And whoever touches the anointed ones touches everybody.
Giving my solidarity to His Grace the Archbishop. I am of the view that the relationship between the church and government must always be cordial. It's imperative that we culture a good relationship between the government and the church. And as a Catholic, I am saddened at what's happening today.
After the session, the Archbishop returned to the cathedral on foot, again with his sympathizers. Both Archbishop Banda and his lawyers declined a comment on the substance of the investigations. On the other hand, the Drug Enforcement Commission has maintained that investigations are ongoing and the nation awaits the next move from the Commission. Crown TV will be updating on this matter. Reporting for Crown TV News, Anna Mwila in Lusaka.
Port System Media Director General, that's Father Frank Bwalya said.
Father Bwalya, welcome to Spotlight. The stage is yours this evening.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be given this opportunity as a member of the UPND, as a member of the Catholic Church, who happens to be a former Catholic priest. I need to, although such terms don't really exist in the Catholic Church, but I need to mention that so that those who are following this program who may not be aware that I don't practice, I'm not in active ministry, may be aware that I don't live in a parish house. I don't have a parish. I am more or less like a lay person because I resigned from the priesthood. I remain a Catholic. And in the Catholic Church, you are ordained a priest once and forever, according to the order of Melchizedek, as we say. So I thought that at the beginning of the program, I should clarify that so that people don't think that they have on the screen a man who is a priest and actively involved in politics. It's not the case.
So we are right to call you father or ambassador or Mr. Which one are you comfortable with?
Yeah, any. Frank Bwalya. I don't like to be called ambassador because the title was not conferred. Yeah, some people cannot stop calling me father. It's in order, but those who are uncomfortable, they want to call me just a Frank Bwalya or Mr. Bwalya. I don't have a problem.
We shall stick to Father Bwalya. Now, recently, you wrote a statement under the headline, "Ignore Archbishop Dr. Banda." Now, there's a specific, section of your statement that would want to focus on. In the About the Author section, you are described as a former Catholic priest who once served as chairperson or president of the Association of Catholic Diocesan Priests in Ndola Diocese, now an archdiocese. It also stated that during your term, Archbishop Banda was a member as a priest before he was consecrated as a bishop. So, you know Archbishop Banda personally. Let us start with this issue. Now, what prompted you, an individual with a shared history with Archbishop Banda, to issue such a strong-worded statement, directive, saying to the nation, ignore him, especially now that he's facing scrutiny from state institutions?
Thank you. I also need to clarify that that statement was written and circulated long before what is happening at the moment. That is long before he was summoned. It's important to make that clarification so that people don't think that they ignore Archbishop Alec Banda has anything to do with what happened recently, culminating into him reporting at DEC today. It is true that I know Bishop Dr. Alec Banda personally. I have lived in the same house with him. Before I was ordained a deacon, I was assigned to Mufurila, working in St. Mary's Parish, that is Kamuchanga and Kawama East. I lived with Deacon, now Father John Lukunka, the two of us in the house. Bishop Alec Banda, then just a priest, was studying in Germany, and he came on holiday, and the bishop asked him to live in one of the parishes and help out. So he came and joined us in Mufurila. We lived very well with him. I also remember sharing the same roof with him, I think at Buchi and other places. So I know him very well. I've worked with him. He has previously sent me when he was a priest on some errands here and there and so on. Now, I later served as treasurer for all diocesan Catholic priests in Ndola. I think later on as secretary, if I'm not mistaken, 1 or 2 terms, and I was later elected as chairperson. I think now they call that person president, as president of all local clergy, that's diocesan priests, in the Catholic Diocese of Ndola, which is now an archdiocese. So I became the president, and it was my responsibility to lead, to promote the welfare of all priests. And Father Alec Banda, at that time, was a member of that association. That is where we are coming from. People should also perhaps want to remind themselves that to train as a priest takes a long time. So I went to pre-seminary, not minor seminary, but pre-seminary in 1989. Then I went to Mpima, that is Kawe, St. Augustine's major seminary, to do philosophy in 1990. I only finished priestly training in the seminaries in 1996. That tells you how long it took. After that, we were not immediately ordained. We did some courses, trainings. That's when I was also trained as a journalist by the Catholic Diocese, the Catholic Archdiocese of Ndola. Then got ordained as a deacon in 1999, ordained as a priest in 2000. So during all that long period, and of course serving as a priest for 8 years at St. Joseph's Mukasa in St. Joseph's Parish in Itawa Ndola, only 1 year. Then I went to Radio Ichengero and St. Peter Catholic Church, that is the Prosecution compound, for 8 years. So during all those years, we interacted with various priests. I interacted with Father Alik Banda. I know him very, very, very well. As I said, we did certain things together and so on. And then when I left the priesthood, he had been appointed now as Bishop of Ndola, so he came to Ndola, and he is the one who received my letter of resigning from the priesthood. He's the one who received a letter from Frank Bwalya saying, I've decided not to come back to the priesthood. And that time, he was the bishop in Ndola. And I've enjoyed a cordial relationship with him. I have never always agreed with him. Some priests from the Catholic Archdiocese of Ndola who are watching this program will remember a few times when I disagreed with Father Alik Banda then. And even recently, I have disagreed with him. I've disagreed with the bishops. I disagreed with late Bishop Dennis Dijon. At one time, there's something that he instructed us that we do when I was at Radio Ichengero, and I offered to resign because I thought what he was asking us to do shouldn't have been done. Then he said, no, don't resign because I'm doing this because of ensuring that you have a good time here, people are not disturbing you. So in that case, please relax and you stay. I stayed at Radio Ichengero. The recent disagreement has been over the constitution making process. They just ended constitution making process. I didn't shy away from commenting, and I can repeat that I disagreed with the position our Catholic bishops took. I disagreed. I said it openly, and I continue to think that the bishops made a mistake, and it is something that they should rethink in the future. So that's what I meant by that.
By saying that we should ignore him.
Oh, you mean, okay, that part. Yeah. That was when the bishop with the, I think the Archbishop of Kasama were asking Zambians not to go. No, that was ahead of the vote in Parliament. Now I remember. It was ahead of the vote in Parliament. His message was clear that members of Parliament should not vote for Bill 7. So I wrote that statement that members of Parliament and the country at large should ignore him. And it's not an insult. I explained why I thought they needed to ignore him. I explained very, very well. Those who don't agree with me, it's their democratic right to disagree, in the same way as the democratic right to disagree with the bishop and the bishops.
Father Bwalya, well, nicely put, but let's look at today's event, or the event that took place this morning. Some people might call it as you shunned the event, but in other words, you did not attend the Solidarity Church service at the Cathedral of the Child Jesus this morning. A service attended by many political figures and lay Catholics demonstrating support for the Archbishop. Given your history as a priest and your Catholic faith, some might question this absence. My question is, can you claim to be a good Catholic when you publicly oppose a senior leader of the church and avoid showing solidarity in what many perceive as a moment of crisis for the institution?
The world has changed. The church has changed. The Catholic Church is no longer that medieval, that church we had many, many years ago with primitive behavior, where if somebody came up with a theory to explain, for instance, why the sun rises from the east and seemingly setting in the west, such a person because there was a doctrine that such a theory a person comes up with contradicts, and then the person is dragged into a public square, stoned or killed or executed. That time is long gone. We had at one time a Catholic Church that was intolerant, a Catholic Church that can also be described as primitive, a Catholic Church that was not open to new ideas, a Catholic Church that believed that the world was flat. And so when somebody came with a theory that the world was not flat, they challenged what the church believed at that time, and death was the penalty. That's where we are coming from. We are coming from a church where, from a history where the priest would celebrate Mass. If you went to the Cathedral of the Child Jesus today, you see even when Archbishop Banda was saying Mass this morning, he was facing the people. But we are coming from a history where the priest did not face the people when saying Mass, when celebrating that church service. He would be facing the war. Some people say because the people were considered to be sinners, and therefore, but it was more to do with the theology of the Eucharist. So that's where we're coming from. Things have changed.
So things have changed, and this is why you had to shun the event.
Yeah. So things have changed. And they have changed in such a way that even in the church, we have respect for personal decisions. We have issues of respecting one's conscience. All those things are there. The church has grown. This is a church that once believed that if you are not a Catholic, you went to hell. It's no longer the case. So a lot of things have changed. Now, coming to that specific question, I didn't go to the Mass this morning, the Solidarity Mass this morning, but allow me to, because this is more interactive, allow me to digress a little bit. There are many people who didn't go to that Mass. Not because they didn't want to show solidarity, express solidarity with Archbishop Banda, but just because they were busy. And so they have not committed any offense. There is nothing you can find in any book of the Catholic Church talking about canon law and other books where you can find an offense that can be slapped on somebody who did not attend a solidarity march called by a bishop ahead of going to appear before a law enforcement agency such as DEC. There is no such a thing. Personally, as a matter, people may be surprised about what I'm about to say. Personally, I had earlier decided that I should go and attend the Mass. I'll be seen to be attending a Mass of solidarity with Bishop Dr. Alec Banda, and I knew that I was not going to be misunderstood, because in life, if my wife steals at a workplace and she's dragged to court, I'll be there with her. Even if I know that my wife has committed a crime, there's a prima facie case, she's likely to go to jail. Even when she goes to jail, I'll be going to visit my wife, because she's my wife. I love her. Whether she has committed a mistake or whatever, she remains my wife, and my love for her remains unchanged. Our love for our shepherds, our priests, should not be changed because they have done something that is wrong. And there are many mistakes that we priests make as we serve the people in parishes. There are many. The scandals are there. In the world, you can never be short of examples of some of the shameful things that as priests we have done, but the people don't hate us. The people accept us as human beings, people who can also, sin and do shameful things, scandalous things, and so on. Sometimes a priest is expelled from the priesthood. As a matter of fact, I was never expelled. Bishop Dr. Alec Banda received my letter of informing the church that I was not going to go back to the priesthood. So Father Pombo, I think he's based in Rome, who likes to mislead the Zambian people, lying, and the priest should not be lying. A priest should not, become malicious, come on a screen such as this one and start lying. No, Frank Bwalya was expelled from the priesthood. I was never expelled. There is no need for me to bring letters to show you that this is the letter I wrote to Bishop Dr. Alik Banda, and this is his response. Yeah. So I wanted to go to that mass.
Okay.
But then on second thoughts, I said to myself, majority of the people who will be there are members of political parties from the opposition who happen to be Catholics. Some of them, maybe not majority, but some of them would be there. And looking at how even priests have abused me for simply expressing my opinion on certain matters where the Catholic leadership has taken a position, I knew that the environment will not be conducive for me. It will be hostile. And if any small thing happens and there's a fracas, there's a confrontation, people would think that I was sent by the UPND to go and cause confusion, so that when there's confusion, the police would step in, and then the church would be blamed, stage managed, in short. So I decided
what do you mean the priests have abused you? What do you mean by that?
There are some priests, one or two, on social media that have made it a habit to insult me, to abuse me on social media. Something that is unbecoming. I've talked to a few senior priests and I've said to them, these priests need to behave better. They should be an example of charity. They should be an example of tolerance. They should be an example of respect. They may not agree with the positions that I take, but they have no right whatsoever to go on social media and insult me. And when they insult me, when they abuse me, then everyone comes. Once in a while, I see a Catholic sister that I personally know. She doesn't use her real name on social media, but mainly Catholic sisters are not involved in this kind of malicious behavior, hating people and so on. Many Catholic sisters should be absorbed once in a while, such as we saw today at DEC. They may be overcome by emotion and do something that people think they could do better, but that's not who they are. Okay. They are very holy people, God-fearing people. They pray for us. Some of them pray for me and have a very strong relationship with some of them, but there are a few priests. There are a few priests. Some people may have seen a post on social media when Bishop Kalesha said, and it turned out to be meaning Catholic priests, that those who don't have children may have no rights to comment on the constitution making process and so on, and he was condemned. But there was one priest who posted something. Chimwanenichi chilwele chalikwatef chitumba kumenso. No. The priest should never do that.
Maybe it's the same thing that you mentioned that times have changed. You said.
I was trying to get to a point. Of course, the Catholic Church escorting their leaders in form of fathers or archbishops is not so new, because you too at some point during the MMD government were escorted to court. That aside, we saw many politicians, primarily from the opposition, siding with Archbishop Dr. Banda and condemning the DEC's action. People have mixed feelings about political figures aligning themselves so publicly with religious leaders in this specific circumstance. Now, what is your comment? And do you believe that this political involvement politicizes the church or simply normalizes protection of religious figures?
It should be made clear that I was never escorted to court or to the police during that time of activism ahead of 2011 and after 2011, such as when I was arrested over the remark, the Chumbumunshorolwa remark. I was never escorted to court or to the police by Catholics. There was never a letter that was written to people to come to a church service and after that walk to the police to escort me. There was no such a thing. There was also no such a thing as me coming from a church after saying mass, or indeed serving as a Catholic priest, going to appear at court or at the police station, and the faithful escorted me. There was no such a thing. What we were doing was work of activism and had openly sided with the Patriotic Front. So some members of the Patriotic Front and other sympathizers would come to court. When I went to court, or if I was summoned at the police, some would come to the police who coincidentally could have been Catholics. What we saw today was ahead of, before today, there was a letter, a statement specifically inviting Catholics to go to the Cathedral of the Child Jesus, attend Mass, then from there walk with the bishop to DEC. So the two are totally different. I see nothing wrong with showing solidarity with anyone, including our brother, our shepherd, Dr. Alik Banda. As a matter of fact, I stand with him. I want to repeat. I stand with him. I stand in solidarity with him. Because doing so does not mean I'm saying he's innocent. Doing so does not mean I'm saying he's guilty. Not at all. He's a human being, and when a human being is being prosecuted, not persecuted, prosecuted, it is in order, out of Christian charity, to walk with them, to support them, to pray for them.
Before you
and
answer,
that's why priests, even when they're being trained or when they're working in parishes, they even go to Mukoveko, they go to the condemned, to penal code, where the condemned are jailed, to go and pray with them, those who are Catholics and they have gone to confession, even to bring Holy Communion to them. I gave the example of a wife. It could be a brother, it could be my daughter, it could be my son who may commit an offense, and I stand with them in solidarity. That does not mean I approve of what they are alleged to have done.
Before you answer on the politicians and the politicization of what was going on.
That's one important point, the politicians that went with the bishop.
So before you answer that one, do you agree with the letter that was issued by ZCCB and, you know, calling on members of the church to support or to walk in solidarity with the Archbishop?
Walking with the Archbishop from the Cathedral of the Child Jesus to DEC was totally unnecessary.
Do you agree with the letter?
The letter asking the people to go to church, that is okay. We need to pray. And that Mass they had today was okay. You need to pray for one another. And you need to seek God's direction, God's mercy, God's intervention in everything. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong to pray, and people should have gone to pray. If I had gone to that Mass, I would have gone to the Mass, pray, and after that, go back home. That's what I would have done. That drama of going with the Archbishop, walking with him to DEC was totally wrong. In my view, it was meant to create a spectacle. And we are happy that the police didn't do anything silly, so that you have people who may be injured or things like that. I think the police acted in a professional manner. There could have been one or two skirmishes here and there, which is highly regrettable. But I think there was a lot of sanity and improvement in the manner the police handled the case. But I repeat, it was totally unnecessary. What the bishop, Dr. Alik Banda, should have done with the other bishops and church leaders who were there was to pray. Everyone knew what was happening. The bishop could have gotten into a vehicle, drive to DEC, appear before the units there, be questioned. After that, come back and inform the people, well, this is what has happened. We'll let you know what follows.
On the politicians?
You know, this is one thing that is very tricky. Whenever the opposition is weak in Zambia, whenever they are weak, there is confusion. There is no clear contender. There is no credible leader who people can think would be the one to beat the incumbent. Whenever such a situation arises, the politicians try to ride on the numbers of the church. They take advantage. They become opportunistic to ride on the popularity of the church. That's why you saw even some leaders of political parties who not long ago claimed to be atheists, who didn't believe in God at all, and never went to church. Never went to church. Today you see them with the suits saying, no, we are in this and that organization in the Catholic Church. They are wearing rosaries and, you know, seeming to be very pious. It's because the opposition are thinking that when they aligned themselves in that manner, you should have seen how they were falling over one another to be seen to be, to be next to Bishop Banda or the other bishops that were there. They are trying to seek relevance. That's one of the things that we do as politicians, and unfortunately. So it's difficult to stop them, especially that some of them were even wearing the hat of being Catholics, and they were claiming that they were escorting the bishop as Catholics. But this is the bishop is a public figure. I think anyone should be free to accompany him, except in this case, the police made it very clear that he shouldn't bring multitudes. So what I think is that the bishop would have gone there with the other bishop. I think there was only 2 bishops, a few priests, some Catholic nuns, because that's part of the church, some lay people, just a sizable, decent number of people go there, and it would have projected, in my view, I may be mistaken, in my view, it would have projected a different, the correct image of the church.
Father Bwalya, let's look at the persecution as well as political fallout. Yes, you've already given your thought regarding the picture that is there, that this is, persecution. But let's get it blunt from you. Do you agree with some people who are saying that the Archbishop, Dr. Alik Banda, is being persecuted by the UPND using state institutions?
I may in future believe, that Archbishop Dr. Alik Banda was being persecuted and not prosecuted by the ruling party, the party that I belong to. I may in future believe. For now, I don't believe. I would have believed it already by now if Archbishop Dr. Alik Banda was summoned by the police to go and answer questions because he said no one should vote for Bill 7. I would have believed by now already if Bishop Dr. Alik Banda was summoned by the police because he said this government has failed to fulfill promises, this government has failed to fight corruption, not to mean that actually the government has failed to fight corruption. But the point I'm trying to make is that if he were arrested or summoned by any law enforcement agency for speaking his mind, for championing social justice, then I would have said this is persecution. Because the man has just performed, has just fulfilled his mandate to speak for the vulnerable, to preach the gospel. We saw Bishop Dr. Alik Banda going into some compounds in the past where there were floods to support the people and so on. He was not arrested. We have seen him being very vocal on governance issues and political issues. He has never been threatened with arrest.
How then
but
does
in this
government
particular case, just a minute,
yes.
just a minute. In this particular case, he has been warned, cautioned and warned, I don't know which one comes first now, for being in possession of a motor vehicle allegedly belonging to ZRA, allegedly being found in with him, and there should be some mystery in there. And personally, the way my brain functions, the way I reason, the way the Catholic Church itself trained me, I cannot say that this is persecution until I'm convinced. I'm at a stage where I'm not convinced that this is persecution. I am convinced that it is prosecution until I see things to the contrary. If, for instance, there was no issue of him being found in possession of a motor vehicle and him being asked to explain, the vehicle being taken away from what we have been informed, and him not going to fetch the vehicle until it was forfeited to the state, then maybe I would have been tempted to believe that this is persecution.
Isn't the UPND, is the UPND not afraid of losing elections because of this action of summoning, a senior Catholic leader in Zambia? Some people think that it is unwise for the UPND to do this when elections are around the corner, as the Catholic Church holds significant moral and political sway. What is your view on the potential electoral cost of this decision of summoning an Archbishop of the Catholic Church?
If by summoning Archbishop Dr. Alec Banda, my beloved shepherd, I'm a Catholic in the Archdiocese of Lusaka. I congregate at Divine Mercy Center in State Lodge. I went to church yesterday. The priest preached very well about new beginning. And after, towards the end of Mass, he read the statement from the bishops. We all listened in the church. I didn't murmur. And after church, I went and greeted the priest with a lot of regard. He knows me personally. We chatted, very, very cordial. And matters remained like that. In the afternoon, I went for the small Christian community. We met, Tembo, and a few things here and there. Now, allow me to say this. If by summoning Archbishop Dr. Alec Banda by DEC and appearing as he did today means that President Hakainde Hichilema has lost his vision for this country, I would have been the first one to pray and to insist that DEC shouldn't do such a thing, that the UPND should not go in that direction. Now, it should be made very, very clear that I'm just speaking as a human being, short of sometimes the best terms to use. It is not possible for the UPND to have stopped DEC to summon Dr. Alec Banda. It's not possible because the DEC does not work at the behest of the UPND. We as UPND, starting with our party president, I'm not talking about the Republican president, the party president, the secretary general, and all the officials in the UPND, we don't give instructions to the police. The police are established by the Constitution. Their mandate is clearly defined and they act as such. But even after saying that, allow me to put it the way I'm putting it, because as I said, we are human beings. Sometimes we are short of the best terms to use because of that limitation. So if by summoning the Archbishop, it would have meant that HH will no longer have a vision for this country, then I would have said, whoa, don't do that. Because then we are not going to get to the destination that HH wants to take this country to. Then we are going to lose elections. If by summoning Archbishop Banda at DEC and went today, it would have meant that the problems we had at KCM, the problem we had at Mopani would be restored and Mopani will stop operating. And Zambia will not have the 49% share that we have. And KCM would not be working. And the people who have been employed there, the suppliers that have supplied, many of them are waiting for their money. They have complained that they are not being paid in good time, and we stand with them, in solidarity with them. If that would be reversed, then for sure it would have been suicidal to summon Dr. Alec Banda by DEC. If by summoning Dr. Alec Banda to DEC, it meant him going there and signing a document that cash for work will not be escalated so that you have it in all districts, something that is important this time around, given how people's livelihoods were destroyed by the severe drought that we had, and they require government support, intervention, mitigating measures such as this one, then I would have said it's not wise.
Father Bwalya, the Catholic Church.
So I think my point is clear that winning elections come August this year has nothing to do with who appears at DEC. Okay. Whether that is a bishop, whether that one is a priest, whether that one is a politician, it has nothing to do. It has everything to do with the performance of the government.
You will agree with me and Alfred that the Catholic Church has the largest membership by churches in this country and world over. Now, just in the video we played when we started the interview, one of your members, members of the Catholic Church, Dr. Chishimba Kambwili, said that the Catholic Church operates in a way that you attack one of us, then you've attacked all of us. So in this case, touching Archbishop Banda means touching all the Catholic members. Are you not afraid of such sentiments?
No, you cannot say touching all the members. Already on this screen, you have somebody who will not vote for the UPND because Bishop Dr. Alec Banda appeared at DEC.
Okay.
And there are many priests, there are many Catholic sisters, there are many lay faithful who would not vote against the UPND just because Dr. Alec Banda was found in possession of a Toyota Hilux and he has failed to explain, and the DEC further called him to go and answer a few questions. I don't think so. I don't think that somebody who has been employed as a nurse, maybe even the cousin, because thousands have been employed, maybe even their cousin, maybe even their uncle, their nephew, and so on have also been employed, would decide not to vote for the UPND just because a certain church leader was summoned by DEC. I don't think so. Now, talking about the large numbers of the Catholic Church,
yes,
it is true that some Catholics will not vote for the UPND. It is true that some Catholics have never voted for UPND. It is true that me, a Catholic, I never voted for UPND. In 2021,
yeah,
I was not in the country. I was ambassador appointed by the PF serving in Australia. I didn't vote. But before, I didn't vote for the UPND. But the UPND still formed government.
Okay.
And I want to say this. It may be controversial. Some people may say, no, you shouldn't have said that after this program. So don't be surprised if you see me apologizing for what I'm about to say. I want to say this. It would be a grave mistake. It would be a grave mistake to have a situation in this country where a government is forced to do what the Catholic Church dictates for fear of losing an election. Because our church, the Catholic Church, has demonstrated capacity to be misguided and support what is not good for this country. Even in the manner in which some church leaders and some lay faithfuls have behaved over this issue of the summoning of Bishop Banda, I can say that it would be a very grave mistake for this country to make the Catholic Church decide who should form government and who should not. It will be a very, very, very big mistake. The Catholic Church is the moral conscience of our country, and they have executed that, exercised that mandate very well. We have had a few instances, such as over the issue of the Constitution, where the Catholic Church, according to some of us, took a position that was undesirable. But the integrity of the Church, of the Catholic Church, remains. The moral voice of the Catholic Church remains. We have one of us who has been summoned, who has been found to be in conflict with the law, and we can't say, no, it is him, he's not part of us. He's part of us. And we can't reject him or disown him now because he has those issues. No. One thing is clear, that that vehicle was not given to the Catholic Church. If at all it was a question of being given or received by the Catholic Church. It was received by a member of the Catholic Church who happens to be a leader. It was registered in his personal name. And I'm sure as we go on, a few details here and there will emerge and so on. But I want to emphasize that it would be a very big mistake to allow the church to be the determinant of who wins an election. To the point where a government will fail to include women in parliament, 20 of them through the mixed member proportional representation, because the Catholic Church says you shouldn't do that. Okay. It would be a grave mistake for a government, for instance, to allow a clause in the Constitution that says when a candidate sponsored by a political party withdraws before the voting day, you call for fresh nominations. That can create confusion. And the Catholic Church didn't see anything wrong with that. But I'll tell you one thing again, more or less paradoxical, that when you speak to some of these people privately, they saw something wrong with that. But they made a mistake to oppose the process in the first place. And they had to run with that all the way up to the end.
Let's look at Zambia being a Christian nation. And yes, you're quite vocal on how you perceive the UPND is running the country. But do you think that the decision by the Drug Enforcement Commission summoning the Archbishop has the potential to divide the country along religious as well as political lines, especially considering that Zambia is a Christian nation, Father Bwalya?
It has potential to divide the country. And let us start with the church. Our church, the Catholic Church, is divided. There are people, even as I'm appearing on this program, who are insulting, and they are Catholics. Why are they insulting? Not because I'm insulting the church, not because I'm insulting Archbishop Dr. Arika Banda, but just because they can't stomach the fact that I am a person who has an independent mind. I can't claim to be a critical thinker, but I can claim to have been educated by the Catholic Church. I did philosophy, and in philosophy you had logic. I did theology. I may not have come out as the best student or a bright student. I may even have been a dull student, but I was educated by the Catholic Church. And I can tell you that there's a lot of division within the church. When I go to some of the parishes, you can see the reaction of the people. It's very resentful because of a position I've taken. Now, that is not on the issue of the summoning of Bishop Banda. But even on this issue, there's a lot of division. There are some people who think that we should wait until he's maybe arrested, until maybe goes to court and evidence adduced, then we'll be able to tell whether this government is just persecuting him. And when people think like that, they are seen to be betrayers, traitors. Because here, you know, it's like a club. When you are in a club, even when or when you are playing soccer, people are watching, we are watching Africa Cup now. Even when you know that your friend on the same team with you has committed a foul which deserves a red card, you all go there to try to protect.
Father Bwalya, but what do you think is really the problem, as you've stated that yes, there seems to be division in the church? Where do you think the problem is? Because when you look back in the past regime, that's the Patriotic Front, yes, they tried. There's that perception that they were really working, rather they were in good working relation with the church as a party. But what is so different with the UPND?
It's not true. The Catholic Church has always been vocal. The Catholic Church has always been very critical on certain matters. The Catholic Church has consistently criticized governments on various issues. People may have forgotten what led to the activism that we did on the Copper Belt, which in a certain way also led to me leaving the priesthood. The Catholic bishops issued a letter, a statement, in response to a government change of policy in the education sector, where the Catholic bishops claimed that they had not been consulted. Then Vice President, with due respect, Mr. State Counsel George Kunda, said something about the reaction of the bishops, and I started reading the pastoral letter by the bishops in English, translating it into Bemba to make the people understand that the position the bishops took was a good position, they were on firm ground, and to show that for them to have taken the position they took, they were not influenced by any politician. That's how I got into conflict with the MMD. They sent people to attack us. They went to the diocese there in Ndola. They attempted to attack my brother, Father Augustine Mwewa, and all these things. Of course, there are people who think that, oh, that time you were standing with the church, now you are no longer standing with the church, and so on. When the church is right, I will support the church. When the church or our leaders have said something or asking us to do something that I don't believe in, I will disagree. The bishops themselves are the ones who have given us that example. When Pope Francis, the late Pope Francis, a holy man, advised or guided that priests could bless same-sex couples. The bishops disagreed. They wrote a letter, we can't describe it as a strong letter, but a bold letter, saying to the faithful that they should not entertain such kind of guidance, and that here in Zambia, the Pope's guidance would be ignored. They didn't use the word ignore, but that's what essentially they said. So if they wrote a statement with the headline, ignore Pope Francis, it would have been accurate. In the same way, I carefully used ignore Archbishop Dr. Alec Banda. I chose that word because the bishops, although they may not have used it, but used the same understanding, the same concept of ignoring what Pope Francis had guided. So who is giving us this example? It's the church itself. I know some priests and some bishops may not accept the fact that the world has changed. They may also not accept the fact that when we go to church and they're in front there, I used to be in front there preaching, no one is going to express dissenting views. Even when the priest is factually wrong, the people will not raise, none of us would raise a hand to say, oh, Father, there where you are saying the mother of Jesus is Magdalene, it's actually Mary. You don't do that. Maybe after Mass, some would have the confidence, the audacity to approach the priest and say, Father Paramachlanda, so actually it's like this. So that's our culture in the Catholic Church. You don't speak back to a priest when they are preaching. But outside, we the faithful have got a conscience, and we are critical thinkers, educated by the same church. We have a right to speak out and disagree. Those who are saying, no, Frank Bwalya has disagreed, he is a black sheep, kick him out of the Catholic Church. Well, I don't think you'd be able to do that.
In your considered view,
I don't think you'd be able to do that. No one can kick me out of the Catholic Church except my grandmother, who, without my knowledge as a baby, took me to church with my mother, of course, with my mother, had me baptized. I didn't know anything that was happening. That's how I became a Catholic. But today I remain a Catholic because I appreciate our doctrines. I appreciate the rich culture, the sacraments that we have. I don't agree with everything, but I'm not going to be protesting that I don't agree with this, with that in the Catholic Church. Even in the UPND, I don't agree with everything. But it's not necessary for me to be protesting, to say, no, in the UPND, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. Some of the things behind closed doors, I would whisper to somebody to say, why is this like that, and so on. Sometimes things are explained, and you appreciate the same thing in the Catholic Church. But like Pope Francis guided, the bishops just said, no, we are not going to do that. In Malawi, it was worse. Some of the bishops there fell short of abusing Pope Francis in rejecting that guidance. So what is happening in this country, where some people think that Bishop Dr. Alec Banda should have, for instance, quietly, with a few people, gone to DEC, we are being insulted and so on. It's part of life, and people need to wake up to this reality. The world has changed. People have become critical. Even when you are preaching in church, you should know that there are people who may even know better than you. The way you run your parish, the way you run your diocese, just because people are quiet, don't think that the people are happy. Because some of the things happening even in our parishes, we don't agree.
Others have said that maybe this could have been done differently. They've said that maybe the summoning of the clergyman could have been avoided, considering the gravity of, the potential national division. Were there no alternatives or less confrontational mechanisms that the state could have employed to engage with a respected religious figure regarding any allegations, thus preserving the delicate relationship between the church and the state?
As UPND, that is as a party, that is not a question we cannot answer, because we don't direct. In
your considered view?
I will also look at other angles, because we don't give the police instructions. However, in our own individual thinking, or even collectively as a party, we are at liberty to think that maybe things were handled this way, maybe things were handled that way, maybe it would have been better. But this thing could only have been avoided if at the source, nothing happened to make what happened today come to pass. That's the only way I can answer that. So if Bishop Dr. Alec Banda, in his individual capacity, did not receive that vehicle, all these things would not have happened. If he had received that vehicle and asked the source of this vehicle, and he was told this vehicle was auctioned from ZRA or somebody bought it and they are giving it to you as a gift, that is normal. Even me as a priest, we received gifts. I know some politicians who have gifted priests vehicles and so on. I know. Bishop, the late President Edgar Chagwalungu helped a lot of us, including myself. President Arainde Hichilema has helped a lot of people and the churches, even myself. And there are many people who have benefited from his generosity. And the fact that the list is not published every time, that it should not make people think that for him it doesn't help people. It does help people. But if a church leader, that's the lesson we are getting, if a church leader is given a vehicle from the showroom, there are no issues. If it is pre-owned, I think a man of God should be very careful, just in case it is found that this vehicle was stolen from somebody in South Africa, there was gunfire and people died, and then it is found in possession of Frank Bwalya, who happens to be a Catholic priest.
Should a man of God, by virtue of their moral authority and standing, be treated differently under the law than an ordinary citizen? And I ask this question to get you from you specifically. Are you, or do you think that there's an advocacy for a legal or constitutional privilege for clergymen, or simply arguing that the application of the law in this case has been politically poisoned?
I want to emphasize this point. As a member of the Catholic Church, I'm appearing on this program, of course, as such, as well as a member of the UPND, and there is no contradiction. That's my individual choice. I want to say this to my church, the Catholic Church. Let us never make mistakes in the preaching, in the writings, the postings on Facebook. Let us never say anything to create the impression that our church leaders should not be treated like other people when they are found wanting. Let's not make that mistake. It will make us lose our moral voice. It would make people think that we sit at the top of the league in terms of selective application of the law. Let's not make that mistake. I've seen some people saying, no, but Bishop, you know, is a very high-ranking leader in the church. They could have found better ways to handle this matter. Let's not make that mistake. DEC, from what we have been informed. Now, allow me to digress a little bit, just a little bit. When you talked about division in the church, I mean in the country, I only talked about division in the Catholic Church. The other division is this. You have the DEC boss, who is Catholic. The wife is Catholic. Maybe some members of the family, including their children, they could be Catholic. You have the head of the civil service, who is a Catholic, a prayer, a communion helper at one of the parishes. I don't want to mention names, although I'm not mentioning them in a bad way. You have a lot of people. You have the Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Jack Mwimbu is a politician, I can mention him, who is a Catholic. You have people like me, people like Honorable Doreen Mwamba, people like Felix Mutati, man, is not UPND, but working with us. And many, many, many people. Some of the police officers who were on duty today were wearing rosaries under their uniform. They are Catholics. Now you have this situation where one of our leaders is dragged to court like that. That, of course, has potential to divide even the flock itself. And I say to the bishops, ZCCB, think about that. Think about that. You are not the one causing it, but there's something you can do, perhaps today and in future, to avoid this situation, so that we can be united as the church. What was the point before I digress?
So the question was, we're looking at the legal question. Should a man of God be treated separately?
Yes. I was saying that it would be a very big mistake to send a signal intentionally or inadvertently, that our leaders in the Catholic Church should be treated in a different way when they are found wanting by the law. It will be a very big mistake, because then the people will be saying, if these people were allowed to vote for that one who maybe they prefer, they will ask him to change the law.
Okay.
So that Catholic bishops and the priests, when they do something wrong, they would have a special court, they will have special prisons and things like that. That would be the impression created.
Father,
and for that, allow me to commend Archbishop Dr. Alec Banda, the bishops, the Catholic faithful, those who were allowed, because the police thought that it was okay, to go and appear before DEC. The same DEC where Frank Bwalya, should he commit an offense, would go, where other members of this country, citizens of this country, have gone. That was good. And in the statement, the bishop said, I think in compliance, I've forgotten the good term that they used, in compliance with a state institution, I can't remember again the language that they used, but actually acknowledging the validity, the legitimacy of DEC, and that they need to comply with the laws of the country, and that instruction, which is always made in the name of the president, to go and appear.
Coming to looking at the law, the pulpits, and accountability, Father, is there a risk that subjecting influential religious leaders to routine police scrutiny could be exploited by future governments to destabilize, harass, or neutralize critical voices in civil society, thereby setting a dangerous precedent for the erosion of democratic freedoms? Father Bwalya.
The police exist to scrutinize our behavior, to do what we call policing. And the Constitution makes that mandate clear. That is why there are even cases such as loitering, where you have not committed any offense, but because of your conduct, the police are watching and saying, what is this guy trying to do? And they are convinced what you are doing is wrong, but they charge you with loitering. I think loitering, if I'm not mistaken, it was called the shishita.
Shishita.
Things like that. And somebody would say, how would you arrest somebody who has not committed an offense? It's because some people would pretend just to be absent-minded, and yet they are spying, they're trying to see if the window closes, a sign that that person now is going to sleep or is leaving the house, then they signal to somebody and an offense is committed. Sometimes a person you all believe to be a madman sitting at the gate of a bank turns out to be part of a gang that robs a bank. You know? So the police are there to scrutinize. The police are there
looking at the future
precedent. And we should not fear the police. We should not fear the police. However, when the police handle a matter in a manner that clearly shows that they are being biased, or that they are trying to be, serve as instruments of persecution, not prosecution, the country has adequate mechanisms to make such police officers or law enforcement officers accountable. We even have the police complaints commission. You can go there and complain. A police officer or officers can be dismissed. But to say that people should not be made to account, because if they're made to account, church leaders to be specific, then the church leaders will be intimidated to speak out, that is not true.
Okay.
That is not true. And I want to challenge the bishops, the priests, and other people who are claiming that by summoning Archbishop Banda to DEC, the ruling party using state machinery wants to silence the Catholic Church. It's not possible. If tomorrow UPND will fail, they are not failing. We are not failing. If tomorrow UPND will fail to put medicines in hospitals, and all the priests, all the bishops are preaching about it and challenging government to fulfill their responsibility to save lives, and put medicines in hospitals. Where is any law enforcement officer going to find a law that says if a man of God champions such a cause, they should be arrested? It will not happen. This is Zambia. It's a modern country. Some of our politicians talking about government may also perhaps not understand that the country has changed.
Okay.
Listen to Facebook, check what is happening on social media. People are expressing themselves freely. Some of them even committing very serious offenses, injuring other people, insulting the president. I'm not saying that is in order, but that's the kind of society that we have become. But from a positive side, we can say Zambians are enjoying their freedom of expression. The church is enjoying its freedom of expression to comment on social issues, comment on issues of social justice, and there will never be a time, as far as I'm concerned, there will never be a time when such would be criminalized.
Let's bring in some phone calls. You are watching Spotlight on Crown Television, and time now is for us to listen to you and you to speak to our guest tonight, Father Frank Bwalya, who is representing the UPND. Would love to hear what your questions or contributions
and representing himself as a Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, thank you. What is your name and where are you calling from?
This is Hope Majarata. Calling from 13 miles.
Please go ahead.
Yes. So I'm listening to the program.
Can you turn down the volume on your TV, sir?
And let me see, I happen to be the Archbishop.
Kindly turn down the volume on your TV. It's giving some feedback.
Okay, just a little bit. The TV is in the other room. Let me just rush here. Hold on. Hold on. Okay.
All right. You can go ahead.
So I was calling to, at least, let me say, clear the air. Can you get me?
Yes, we can get you, Mr. Majarata.
Yes. First, I'll begin with greeting Mr. Frank Bwalya. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes. So for me, I will not be able to, use all these codes being used. I'll just go straight with the whole entire issue. Let me see. Hello?
Please go ahead to the question.
Yes. So, the thing is, whatever is going on is true. It is happening. Yes, it happens. There are people out there that I don't know if I would say it is. I don't know what it is called, but it is used to, get someone to not be aware of themselves at the moment. I don't know if it's drugs or what, but it's the same things that will get somebody to not realize that they're being used.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Majarata.
Thank you, Mr. Majarata, for your contribution. Please remember when you call in to stick to the topic.
Hold on.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening,
sir. Good evening, thank you. What is your name?
Yes, I'm John, calling you from within Lusaka.
All right, please go ahead, John, from within Lusaka.
Yeah,
Mkwai ndifyo bwino ba John.
Awandi vye bwino, na mwiswanga kwati, inenga mwampera chance kwati in the present kari yosefyo. Mwemwa Frank Bwalya.
London Mkwai.
Ine ukuba present kari kumpera chance. Ine upa rwandifyo, kuna kanda wachala kwena. This is my government. Sirefata golala. Now, if previous government, what is it was a previous government. Why I say so? For the point where we are divided this time. You can usually open the Mandela Aqua. Ukatanga kwa tayari kwa panda kutoka na warembo wangu. So anakwenda ikitena chini. If I can become a president today, I can say no. My government. That is to say abakabolana. Why do you give us a good talk? Why not go out the president? President. Thank you very much.
All right. Tuatasha sana. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. This is Clifford Matendo calling from Lusaka.
Clifford from Lusaka, we're grateful for your call. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to ask from Father Bwalya, what is the stance on the Catholic for people to participate in politics, like in their church, in the Roman Catholic?
All right.
What is the policy in the church in terms of their members participating in politics? What is their stance?
All right,
what is the allowance? Yes. Then two, the issue of this Archbishop Ghana. I think at some point I would say it's politicized. It's being politicized because you can see like a lot of politicians on the side of especially the opposition, on the side of the bishop. So they are using this issue in order also to campaign, like it's a campaign platform for them. So the Catholic Church need to have proper guidance on how people should be allowed to participate fully in politics. I think there must be a policy.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution. All right, let's pick another call, Alfred.
Good evening. Good evening, you are through to Spotlight.
Hello?
Yes, you are through to Spotlight. Your name, where are you calling us from?
KB from Chinga.
Yes, KB.
Good evening, Father.
Good evening, Wakebi.
Kwena imena picking ako one component na mlanda chintu chikankala sana. You know, I know FM mlanda from uninformed position. So the danger is pointing sende pongatwa sendo kuti to pele ifunde kuli bamuli bakwatira ifunde turevike chabati stake. Because next time tukalaindira lomba mufyo abantu balifu kutweba. Now, you know, tufire twaba again very careful. Matwa mufifungomu. Niwanga abantu abali mu bushebe natabale fwa ekukutana. So, dimo fwe want to landa se, but if landa bafaza hapo. Simple ya kuchita unite chalo. Lifunde. Na capacity vachivetera muva bishop vachiveta as an individual, so we should detach the church from an individual because ngatoachita combined then yawo wafya next time vakesa tobo kuti ifwe abantu vesuta mufire mune vachitanani nishmavika contract ransom. So we need to be very objective kuma issues yamo, not always ukula chita politicize. Bwalya from an informed position because is one of those. So in Ndawakonka sana, and the man is Walalanda, he calls it a spade. If you have any more allowance for Walanda Tapanafiruba, and if you know that our Pafiru. So the more fluent tonight, Tre send us a film to Fido, not Fepan to someone to not Pata, Miru, La Kula Landa. So, our father named them to me, and Mukonka Nepo Kula and the Pachu would take a video, Momuten, the Ninjishiva, a spirit, and Mwakwa, Telesami Palesan.
Tuatasha sana Wakebi for your contribution. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Very fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine to you.
All right, you're through to Spotlight. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Moses calling from Mundola.
Mr. Moses from Mundola, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, I think the Roman Catholic, I think, is just a political church, from my own view. So it is a ceremony of the same bishop to Deki. I think he has got nothing wrong with that. That bishop is just a Roman, just like me. From all this thing, I think Roman Catholic is just a political church. There are so many churches in Zambia. So that's all my take. So, Father, but just continue pushing that word. Listen to what you're saying.
All right. Thank you very much, Moses, for that contribution. Hello. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. You're through to Spotlight. I'm with Alfred and Father Bwalya.
Good evening. Hello.
Good evening. We can hear you. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Chanda calling from Kitwe.
All right.
Father Bwalya mulishani.
Bwino bachanda.
Kwa inde ipusha akose ine question pali wa Bishop Ali Kibanda. There were 22 vehicles which were the case for Bishop Ali Kibanda, and the 2 officials from ZRA have been convicted. I presume it is the same case, but they have just picked the bishop of the 22 cars. Now, what about the 21 cars? What has happened since the 2 officials have been convicted? But from the 22, they have only picked 1, of which is of the Bishop Ali Kibanda. So I want maybe to highlight me on these 22 vehicles plus the 1 which was found with our bishop. Thank you, Father Bwalya.
Thank you.
All right. Let's pick 2 more calls and then we get some feedback. Hello. Good evening.
Evening.
How are you, sir? What is your name and where are you calling us from?
This is the Copper Belt Kitwe.
All right.
This is the FM.
FM, please go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Father Bwalya.
All right.
But looking at how he's speculating, talking, I think us youths, we need more. I agree. Like no one is above the law. We respect our leaders, and then as a Zambian youth, how we have grown up, we have been taught to have like a culture whereby we see elders doing something wrong, and then we are taught to be quiet. And I think, okay, let me put this at speed. I think the current government is okay because no one is above the law, regardless of where they belong to. Zambia is for all of us. And then we deserve more. As we need more future.
All right. Thank you very much for your submission. All right. Thank you very much for your submission from Kitwe. Alfred.
Indeed. And we're going to allow Father Bwalya just to respond to give us feedback from what.
We have one more call before we allow the Father.
All right.
Hello.
Good evening.
Ulishani mkwari.
Bwino Shan. Your name and where are you calling us from?
Ne utenti ndeti mna kuzingalume.
Kulishani kuzingalume.
Awe kulisho kwa mutende.
Tuna wafadha Bwalya mu studio.
Mkwari ndebo kupita.
Mwachanda timwe charity. Mwachanda timwe ba Janet. Okay.
Mkwari.
Mkwari timwe ipusha.
Mkwari ndebo kupusha kwa watata wafadha Bwalya.
Ipusheni.
Mkwari tonde ipusha ko ine chakwe bati. Batata. Inenga nasta ya itoroshiri yache panachaja. Itoroshiri yalawa mnago badaji kambashire ko itoroshiri risuma sana suti. Eba ngala nalami sida suti yo nami pera. Eba nalami pera suti ya. Ageno umuntu mbakeza mukufoirikisha chagusha suti ya jene taperesha ni Bwalya. Mkwaya peresha ni Bwalya ndo peresha ni ya suti. Ikintu kimwe mu bantu bakwalesa turi echo wakironza down nation. Muno mutwa muzambia twaba tutuleba ngaba munganda ngamama pekintu kumuntu cyarubali. Bwalya bali kimofye bafirashi nemo bene bafirashi nene bafirashi. Mwanga mwali bekireka cya wo ingeti kintu ikita endere cyane mukubepusha buno cyendere cyane. Ero balondra tawe iti ashire nyaba bampere sona so ukutira ifetika muzamutalo mwantakire wamu musalo basana ukutira chipali moto kafie ero abantu nomba au mwani kira sakamika natira tamba kuna kumtanza ndemona abantu balerimba balerira balepepa tatingu kusho mwenzo sana ina kuku ngakuli balirwa ndi mukubona
Katasha Janet.
Okay.
All right, Father Bwalya, we would love to get some reactions from you.
Yes, please. There are many. I don't know if I should start from the last one and then going up.
Sure.
Ba Janet bati balabakalamba bafyashinga babetire fe kumbali babetire kumbali kalaka kalata babatwalire akakubeta ku DC babakali mu bumfisolo tatwishibe nga bene ababulire kalaka kalata bakabika pamwela pa social media kanshi bena abe bafye ba lawyer mukapopo kutira bale mfo yakula ku DC kulira mirandu ya motoka natukaye umutalalira ngatakwachiba ifyo fya mirengo kumfo obubi ngatakwachiba lero cyo mwilaba chakweba timwe na ine fwe balanda ngani fwe tuwa bakuntanji fwe balanda ni fwe tuwa bakuntanji kulatira kubya mafunde abiri umukankala yena nangu intungurushi muchali chinangu mu chalofye mu politics na mumbi ngapango mulandu bale muita kumbali ko baya muipusisha fyapwa nokupwa ninshi twaona ule chalo ninshi twaona ule chalo ero futi kabiri uyu mulandu wa motoko uyu telelo watampa iyo na kunu moku kwalinde subiro ku yabamona bashikofu nokubepusho kutulange imotoka cyabashani tatushiwe fyo baswike iri motoka bali sendere bakapokola nokutira kuti mwaisa ipoka mwaisa londoro fyo mwa kwete imotoka kwatitabaireko kulingana fyo batweba nkwainga na alufyanya kuti bamberera ko uluse that's why ndeba kwati tabaireko efyo ira motoka nomba yabakwati yapokwa lelo mulandu wa shere na wiminina. In conclusion, tukwata amafunde yabo twachindika na mafunde ayo turemo abantu bo turemo nati yo babalanda abantu basulwa bena kumwita palo alala babashala kula beta kumbali awe na katolika wine ali mapasweka ukususha selective application of the criminal justice system or amafunde ya muri chacha.
Alafu muspa ile fesa nkashala finish 10 on 5 minutes.
Okay. Ba Ephraim bachilanda fe bwino kutroputeko ba UPND buli fe bwino bachanda bachipusho kutira imotoka shali 22 nomba babula pofe bamo ba bishop chirishani bakapokola mkwai ebe ngasuka bwino pali ichi lelo ifo chaba nga chakutile imotoka shayibwa ndepera for example mkwai nchile batevo chali imotoka nga shayibwa shili 22 ero ishi 18 limbita bashisangire basanga ko ishi shili 4 ero pali ishi shili 4 limbi basanga po muntu umo eo bakwete po fishinga jalibire tetibe batatu wa mwikate pantu ishishimbia batatu abekata ndesubira bakapokola tefe babomba lelo mkuya kwanshi kundesubira bakapokola kuti batu ishibisha bakutatu wakwate fishinga finshi fya chitike ba Moses balebo kutira bakatolika mkwai chimofe nokutira bali ba political party mkwai na lachitako mbaina bala bambe ba chipsho kutira bushe mukatolika chabashani bakuitumpa ma politics. The Catholic Church, even the Pope, encourages Catholic members, the faithful, to participate in politics because politics is noble. Politics is about governing the people. Basa tabadi ni bakatolika ba president againde ichilema ni ba SDA te bakatolika ni ba SDA but nabo bene bali tumpa mukutungulula abantu ama politics mwefi abamona mufichitika mu efshawama echo abantu bambi bamwena ti ama politics yakwachiwa it's a dirty game and so on lero mukatolika bala tusuminisha ukuingira ma politics shima pepo shikofu mupatili ena tafuile ukubula kolu bali openly pautana mumifundile chilemo negatu ya supporta ba PF awe nga ule mupatili wafuaile okubwesha indalama shaba president akainde ichilema baya ku church baya pepa ero nombaye baba lepende indalama tibusheira envelope ya chitula ulia na mufunyamo nanguta mufunishe mwendalama pakutatuka mubweseshe iyo yali ni church ya bakatolika uko bafuaile okubwesesha indalama. This is a story for another day where I will talk about it maybe in details to show that some of us are going to extremes and that's why the president is justified to say some people hate him. Elo twaya kuli mkusupawila fye mbiwa chipsho kutila pamulandu wakuiba bambi wachisaipusha kuchita participate mu politics ina asuka ba KB bachilanda fenabo fyachwa fya tambala. I don't need to answer to that. Balanda pakutira ndela ndapali unity kwera ine fyona bambumi bwandi kuti no muntu awe kulanda vefili kumano yandi limoni mondesa mukutari great ati nshali ngiro kulanda filia limona chitana apologize nomba mkwai charo chabwana lale na maisosele valileta maisosele valileta elo kabili moto apokere temwe wachintinya wa mwenso kanshikulalanda. In conclusion, I am praying for Archbishop Dr. Alec Banda. I stand with him during this trying moment. That does not mean that I think that is being persecuted. I don't believe that is being persecuted. I may believe that in future, depending on what transpires going forward. So I'm standing with him. I'm standing with all Catholics who are praying for him. We pray for him. I'm also praying for the police, for DEC. I'm praying for the president. Some people are even lying at Yokateka na Lwala sana na wamufyusha na mchalo. I'm praying for the president. I'm praying for everyone. Above all, I'm praying for a vibrant democracy in our country where there is no dictatorship, religious or otherwise.
Okay. Father Bwalya, we're grateful for having honored this invitation and joined us to give your perspective on these national issues.
Pleasure, pleasure.
Indeed.